are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. This is The Issue, and we have a good one here for you today. Episode 259. We have a lot of wild card football to review, divisional football to predict. It was a good weekend in the NFL. If you didn't catch it, you missed out. Even college football, I mean, those games were electric. Now you look forward to this national championship game. You have Ohio State and Notre Dame. Going to be great. We're going to kind of touch on all of it today. The show will look like this. We're going to open things up with Tim's rant. I have written here good teams versus bad teams. It'll all make sense once you start listening. I have a feeling it's going to be geared towards the Jets, the Bears, just based on what we've heard here pre-show. So that's what you can expect to start the show. We're going to finish the first segment with hits and misses, go over where we were right and wrong in the week, and then getting into the second segment there, we will have our divisional round predictions and our divisional round bets. So kind of going to get to everything today. It is a big week in the NFL, and playoff football is upon us, so it's a good time.
I feel like people probably expected to see, a Mike Tomlin rant or a Steelers rant, but
it's coming.
We'll get to it. We'll get
coming
to that. But that's not even, to me, that's not even the most interesting thing. But no, I mean, did you do the iHeartRadio?
I was just about to jump into that.
All right, go for it.
Guys, we appreciate however you're watching today or listening. You can catch us on Spotify, Amazon Prime Video, and YouTube if you wanted to watch the show. If you want to listen, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the iHeartRadio app will be the place to do so. Go check it out, theissuesports.com. But we are happy to have you here on Thursday. Let's go.
I like I said, the most interesting thing, that's fine. The Steelers have collapsed at the end of seasons. That's nothing new. That's been happening for a decade, right? We know that to be a fact now. We can discuss what to do with Tomlin, but they're a perennial playoff team. They're going to win 9-10 games every year. We'll leave that aside. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. The biggest takeaway for me from Wild Card Weekend and the news cycle in the NFL in general, doesn't even have to be directly tied to playoff teams, is the bottom of the league just stands absolutely no chance. They stand no chance. Let me just read you some stories. Joe Shane, did anybody see the story about the Giants and the, backup safety that they signed over the offseason? And about 4 weeks in, Joe Shane asked him to take a pay cut from, wait for it, let me blow your socks off here, $2.98 million. Ooh, hey, we need $100,000 of that back. You're getting crazy there with that pay. They told him 4 weeks in, don't pay October's rent. I'm replacing him as soon as we can. Direct quote from Joe Shane. They stand no chance in this league. The Bears have interviewed Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator of the Giants, because that unit looked really good this year. They looked so good with Danny Dimes to start the year and Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito. And they're interviewing Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, because I'm sure everybody, when they watch the high-flying Miami Dolphins, say, you know what, that defense is really well coached. I'm sure that's what everybody says when they watch the Dolphins. And then the Jets are going, you know who we should interview for our head coaching position? Mike Locksley. Does anybody even know who Mike Locksley is? Let me cue you in. He's the head coach of Maryland University. Does anybody know the record of Maryland University? No. Let me cue you in on why. Because they suck at football. Because they're not a good program, because nobody in the Big Ten, or the Power 5 for that matter, takes them seriously, because they're not a legit program, and they're not run by a legit program builder, i.e. Mike Locksley is not a good program builder. But sure, let's bring him in and interview him for the Jets. The bottom of this league stands absolutely no chance. You're watching the Chiefs with Clark Hunt as the owner, and Andy Reid as the coach, and Brett Veach as the GM, and Mahomes as the quarterback, and you're like, how do you compete against that? The Raiders evidently have no interest in Deion Sanders. I don't think Deion's a great head coaching candidate. I question his X's and O's. He's clearly a really good leader, and he's clearly a really, really good recruiter, which obviously doesn't matter in the NFL. The Raiders are not only bad, but they're boring, and they're uninterested in Deion Sanders. In a division with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, you'd think, we should probably, make a splash at head coach. No. We're good. We're good. I didn't even pull up who they interviewed. I'm guessing it's more Mike Locksley's. Let me guess, they're going to interview the head coach of Boston College next. Give me a break with this stuff. The bottom of the league is so far removed. If you want to know how quickly you can turn it around with ownership, GM, head coach, go look at the Commanders. A laughing stock last year. Ron Rivera couldn't figure out offense from a hole in the ground. Their GM wasn't very good, let's just say that. And the owner was probably the most toxic owner in all of sports since Donald Sterling, who, from those who don't know, Clippers owner, go read up on that. Next year, they've won their first playoff game in 2 decades. With Dan Quinn, they got the quarterback, Adam Peters, the GM. It starts at the top. Half of these coaches, half of these quarterbacks, they do not stand a chance. I love Caleb Williams as a prospect. I think Ryan Poles is actually pretty smart as a GM. Some of his decisions are questionable, but I think he's pretty smart as an individual and as a GM. I think if he was left to his own devices, I think he'd do a pretty good job. He stands no chance. Unfortunately, stands no chance. The McCaskies are the poorest ownership in all of the NFL, at least, and arguably professional sports. It's a mom and pop shop, yet it's the biggest city, one of the biggest cities in all of professional sports, yet they're still the poorest. They really can't figure it out. And the former president of the Big Ten is the president of football operations. He's a joke. The whole thing is a ragtag operation. Caleb Williams, Ryan Poles, stand no chance. It all starts at the top. I mean, Lamar, Harbaugh, Steve Bisciotti, they've been there for years now. They've been working together for 10, 15 years, at least Harbaugh and Bisciotti have. I mean, I bang on the Steelers, but at least we have some continuity. I mean, are we kidding with this? They're interviewing Anthony Weaver, Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. Did anybody once watch the Atlanta Falcons, or I'm sorry, not the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals? Did anybody once watch the Arizona Cardinals and go, God, I have to have that coordinator. I just have to have him. I got to get him in the building, and I can't let him leave. Never once did anybody say that. Sure, all these teams interviewed, your Mike Vrabels and your Ben Johnsons. Those candidates don't want to touch the Jets, the Bears. That's a career killer. You want no part of those franchises. The separation between the top and the bottom of this league is so evident. And this is a mistake I made. I should have known it. Why would I even think that the Bears could sniff relevance? I don't know why I even thought. I banged on them for 5+ years when they had Justin Fields, saying they can't get the offense right. Their offensive line's terrible. Their coaching staff isn't very good. The ownership's bad. And they got one quarterback, and I thought they would just magically solve it all. You cannot solve what's above you. You just can't. Look at Joe Burrow. He's like the kid from Holes, just digging and digging and digging for no reason. And he can't dig himself out because it's one of the poorest ownerships in the league. And we don't know about the GM. We think the coach is good. We have no real proof of that yet. You cannot, for the most part, overcome the dysfunction of ownership and front office in this league. And it is so evident. I mean, the Bears fired their head coach at Thanksgiving. And we're still interviewing Drew Petzing, Anthony Weaver, with all due respect, but Pete Carroll, Mike Kafka. Give me a break. You fired him at Thanksgiving. We don't have this list narrowed down yet. There should be 2 or 3 candidates at this point, and they should all be at least B+ candidates. Why are we hiring a D- candidate, Mike Kafka? Sorry, don't know you personally, but your offense sucks. It doesn't make any sense to me. The bottom of the league stands no chance. It stands absolutely no chance.
Is there a fix for it? Like what do you do? So if you are now I don't know, because I guess the disparity between the top and the bottom is rather large. Does it stay that way? Is it a problem like baseball has where it stays that way? Or is there a fix? Do you see there ever being a fix? Do you see these teams ever rising again? What does that look like?
Well, to be fair, I think this year may be a little bit of an outlier because there's so many bad teams. Usually there's not this many bad teams. There's 2 reasons for this. One, there's just a limited number of good and there's a limited number of great, smart employees in any job. There's only a handful of great GMs. There's only a handful of great owners. There's only a handful of great quarterbacks. And that goes for accountants. That goes for, CEOs of tech companies, right? That's just kind of how it works. So do I see it changing? Not really. I don't see it getting that much worse. But as the league becomes more and more quarterback dependent, you're going to see the bad teams get worse. They're going to stay bad.
Okay.
I mean, look who's drafting at the top of the draft. The Titans, the Jets, the Giants, the Bears, the Browns. 10 years ago, guess who was drafting at the top of the draft? The Bears, the Titans, the Giants, the Jets, the Browns. It's the same teams at the top of the draft every single year.
Yeah, and now, I mean, I guess we do see it a little bit this year with, like, a Detroit and how they've gotten better. And they used to be in that spot where they were just consistently drafting 1, 2, 3 all the time.
Sure.
But now they're trying to... I hope it looks like that, where these teams have that ability to compete, because I think the league is better when they do.
You can certainly turn it around. If I could put a percentage on it, so let's say there's about 10 really, really bad teams in the league. Over the next 5 years, how many of those 10 teams will, let's say, win a playoff game? I would say 1. I'd seriously say 1. And I would imagine it's going to be the Bears because I think Caleb's that good. Yeah. Like, do we really see the Browns? What are they going to do at quarterback? Go ahead and draft Shedeur Sanders. He's going to be the most overrated number 2 overall pick if you draft Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles again. Like, where do you go?
Yeah.
So they're not winning a playoff game. The Giants are miles away. I do not see the majority of these teams being able to turn it around.
Okay, that's fair. All right, good rant, man. Let's go. We're going to head into hits and misses here. Let's go.
All right, number 1 here. We said Sean Payton was going to work. We didn't think it'd be this good this quickly, but we knew. Everyone's like, oh, after the first year with Russ, like, oh, they're garbage. He can't coach. Hold on. He went to the Saints, at the time one of the worst organizations in football.
Yes.
I mean, we were still in diapers at the time. And he turned them into a Super Bowl winner, not just a contender, a winner. So to say that he can't coach is absurd.
That's great.
And I said, I thought it was going to take a little bit longer, especially with a rookie quarterback. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. But we thought that the Broncos were going to be pretty good. We thought that we were going to see steps and building and their improvement, which we have.
Oh, and we did.
Just at a much greater rate than we thought, which is good because we thought Sean Payton was going to be a very, very good coach because he's always been.
Yeah, and we knew that they weren't ready to beat the Bills in that spot. Like we said that last week. Like, Bo Nix, you've had a fantastic rookie year. You have played well above expectations. Like, if I'm in Denver today, that's a great spot to be moving forward. That is a great spot to be.
Absolutely.
So they have the right thing going there. Like I said, 2-3 years down the line, can they be competing for a Super Bowl? I think so. But at this time, it just wasn't their time yet, but they're getting there.
So the main problem is, my question to you, do you ever see them being good enough to win that division, or are they going to have to go on the road to have real playoff success from here on out? Because are they better than Harbaugh and Herbert, and are they better than Mahomes and Reed?
If we're being realistic, no, they're going to have to go on the road when they do win. It's going to have to be that type of trajectory, because I don't see the Chiefs falling from that one spot in the AFC West anytime soon. And if they do, I think the Chargers are next in line to take that.
But they have the right 2 guys, you would say, in Denver.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I agree. That's number 1 here. I did not expect Jaden Daniels to be by the way, head and shoulders above everybody else in the rookie class.
Yeah.
The poise, the accuracy, the playmaking. He already, to me, looks like slightly less of a version of Lamar Jackson. Like, people are like, oh, he's better than Lamar when he came in. He's almost better than Lamar now, not when Lamar came into the league. Like, he is dynamic. Unbelievable. Now, he'll go through some stretches and series halves, even sometimes full games, where looks a little bit off. We saw earlier in the year when he kind of bruised or broke his rib a little bit. He was uncomfortable, and you could tell it affected his play. But overall, my God, what a season so far. And they're moving on to play Detroit. Now, I don't love that matchup for them. I don't think they're going to be able to stop the run of Detroit, but just head and shoulders above the rookie class. Significantly better than everybody else.
As a rookie, it's just, it is surprising. Better than we would have had him doing.
It's so much better than CJ Stroud last year, and CJ was regarded as the best rookie season ever.
Yep.
So much better than CJ last year. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I do like to throw in there that CJ's still in the playoffs though.
He is still in the playoffs. He won. We'll get to that. Hit number 2 here. The whole Tomlin story. I've talked about it 1,000 times. What are we realistically doing here? The effort was embarrassing in the first half. Yeah. It was an embarrassing effort in the first half. 21-0. 21-0 at half.
Mm-hmm.
The game wasn't competitive 8 minutes into the game.
Nope.
You knew 2 series in, you're like, okay, we have no chance. We have no chance.
I think it's good, though, because what we have been saying and echoing for years here on the show, like we're 4 years in now. How long have we been saying it's time to move on from Tomlin? 3 years? Okay. Now those naysayers, the people that have been, we've never had a losing season with Tomlin, are starting to come around. You're starting to see more people jump on our side of it's time to make a change. Like, it needs reevaluated.
The standard is the standard thing is embarrassing when the standard that you have set is just barely making into the playoffs and get waxed in the first round every single year.
That is
not a standard. That's a standard for the Bears. That's a standard for the Jets. That's not a standard for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, it's not.
And he now, to give him credit, he's part of the reason that we deserve better. Won a Super Bowl, had a lot of success early on. He set a very high standard for himself and for the Steelers. He has not lived up to that. Sorry, not sorry. It's just a fact.
That's true.
Miss number 2 here, back to what you said about C.J. Stroud continuing in the playoffs. But we did, to be fair, both thought Harbaugh and Herbert were the better side in that game.
100%, yeah.
Now, granted, I think the people that are heaping loads of hate and saying Herbert can't win in the playoffs, Herbert's not any good, Harbaugh's just a fake coach, like that.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Harbaugh's a top. If you could just wipe the slate clean and you could draft from scratch head coaches in the NFL, is he a top 5 draft pick?
Easily.
Definitely top 10.
Easily.
Probably top 5. I would say you have Reed, McVay. A lot of people would probably throw Kevin O'Connell in there. I'd say his brother, the other Harbaugh, and then it'd be Jim. Like he's up there. Mm-hmm. He's absolutely a top 5 to 7 coach. And I think Herbert, same idea. If you had a draft, he's in their top 5 to 7 players.
It's those
unbelievable.
It's those quick knee-jerk reactions when they just got upset. Like, that's what you're seeing here.
If you would have said, hey, to the 5-win Chargers after the season last year, hey, next year you're going to win 10 games and lose a tough one in the playoffs, they'd be like, hey, that's improvement. They would have signed up for that tomorrow. They would have signed up for that in 2 seconds.
Yep.
And now they want to cry about it. So a little inconsistent. I think they're going to be fine, but we definitely missed. We thought that they were going to actually blow out the Texans. Hit number 3 here. I'm buying all that Bills stock, baby.
You are.
Everybody sold their. Stephon Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. Did anybody hear from Gabe Davis this year? Did anybody hear from Stephon Diggs? Now, granted, he got hurt. He looked pretty decent before the injury, but that's weird. I feel like I haven't heard much from them as of late. When you have a more cohesive unit, when you have a more balanced attack, when Josh can just distribute the ball where he wants it to the open man, where the scheme allows, as opposed to Stephon needs a target, or Gabe Davis needs a target, or this is where it should go according to, distributing the ball. He needs one. No. Josh can throw it to the open man, to the correct read. Josh can take off when he wants. It's a more cohesive unit. It's a more together unit. I like the Bills. I bought all that stock. Look at them now.
Yeah, that's one that you've been on for a while. I sold my Bills stock, I got to say. This is a miss for me, hit for you. Good job on that one. I mean, Josh Allen played out of his mind this year, especially down the stretch there, and I think that continues into the playoffs. They are my favorite in the AFC.
Ooh, I like it coming around on the Bills a little bit. Miss number 3 are the Patriots. I didn't think... Now, granted, this is definitely a miss, but this is partially... because the Patriots, because of the other job openings being so bad, I did not expect the Patriots to be the number 1 opening. Seriously, right now. So now Cowboys obviously moved off Mike McCarthy. So Cowboys, let's say the Patriots, Saints, Jags, who else is open? Bears, Jets. Which of those is the best jobs? I would argue it's the Patriots. You have your quarterback for the future. Clearly, Robert Kraft is a good owner, right? He had a run of 20-something years where they won 6 Super Bowls with the right coach, obviously. Is that's the best job to me? That's better than Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and an impulsive owner in Woody Johnson. Way better than the Bears in that mess.
Oh yeah, it's better than the Bears. I would say the Dallas job would probably be number 2 in my mind. I mean,
it's close,
you have
but at the end of the day,
organization. You know you're going to be supported. You know you're going to get the money you want.
You have the highest paid quarterback in the division, but he's the 3rd best quarterback. Jaden's a star. Jalen Hurts is better and cheaper.
It's a rough spot to be. I agree with you, though, that the Patriots is the first spot that I'd want to be at.
We didn't expect that.
No, I didn't.
No, I said that this team's pretty lifeless. They're talentless, which they still have a lot of ways to go. But that's one of those where I don't think they're quite as talented as the Chargers were. But that's one where you go in there like, oh, it would not surprise me at all if it was a Harbaugh-like turnaround, where next year they win 9-10 games and are competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
I think they'll probably win more like 8 and be like, that on-the-cusp team that just kind of gets bounced like the Dolphins this year. But I didn't expect that.
No, I don't think
They hired Vrabel. Good hire. Like it a lot.
Coaching carousel. We'll get into that when the offseason comes in.
Yeah, I can't wait. We'll have to do that soon because they're already starting to make hires.
Yeah, I know. We'll probably hop into it probably right around where maybe that Super Bowl dead week, right before then.
Sure.
But either way, guys, that was hits and misses. Make sure you stick around. In the second segment coming up, we will have our divisional round predictions and our divisional round bets. Not going to want to miss that one.
All right, welcome back in. Post-wild card, pre-divisional round.
Yep.
This is the issue. We appreciate you stopping by, whether that is YouTube, whether that is Spotify, whether that is iHeart, Apple, Amazon. However you did get here, we appreciate you getting here. If you are just watching, somehow if you just got to this second segment, go back and listen to the first segment we talked about just the gap between the bottom of the league and the top of the league. I mean, the Bears are interviewing... God knows it. The Jets are interviewing college coaches and not even good ones. And then meanwhile there's the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bills who are just head and shoulders, from ownership to GM to coach better. So go back and listen to that. We did hits and misses per usual. Talked a little bit about Tomlin. Talked about Jaden Daniels, all that fun stuff. So go back and listen. Make sure you like it, review it, rate it, comment, whatever. That helps us out, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but I did give my AFC, I guess, who I have ranked first in my AFC picture, and that is the Bills. Now, I don't want to give your AFC picture, give anything away here. Who's your number one in the NFC?
I'll give you both.
But we'll keep that kind of predictions. But what's your NFC? Give me your NFC.
Even though they're beat up, I just feel like the Lions are that team. I just feel like the Lions, I don't know who's going to be able to stop the run game from the Lions, who's going to be able to play good enough defense, stop the run game. I think they're going to be able to, kind of ball control their way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A Bills-Lions Super Bowl would be sweet, I got to say. That's kind of what I'm pulling for.
I agree.
Definitely my favorite out of the NFC as well. But, guys, let's go here. We have our divisional round predictions. I will tell you, it is the first week where we do not have any splits. We fully agree. We had to get it down to 6 games total for us to agree on everything.
No, 4. There's only 4 games.
Oh, my God. 4 games total, yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
Anyway, guys, the NFL season's winding down, but
Sad.
It is getting hot right now. Right before the conference championships, let's go. Divisional round predictions in the NFL.
You know what? I'm going to surprise you actually, real quick. We don't even have a graphic for it. National championship pick. Ohio State, Notre Dame. We'll add a 5th one.
I will take. I don't want to take Ohio State. I'm going to say Notre Dame.
All right, I'm going to go Ohio State. Because I'm with you. I want Notre Dame to win, but I think Ohio State's going to win.
Yeah, you get that feeling.
Yeah.
I think they're better all around.
Yeah. Oh, the talent on the outside is absurd. But anyway, okay. Back to the NFL. Chiefs hosting the Texans. Couple things to look for here, right? Chiefs are coming off 3 weeks of rest for most of their players, right? Most of their starters rested the last week of the season. Then they have the bye. They're coming off 2.5, 3 weeks of rest, because they also played the Christmas early window, right? So they had almost 3 whole weeks of rest for most of their starters. Are you a rest versus rust guy? What do you think that is? Do you think that works in their advantage or not?
I think it works in their advantage because you just got through a brutal season. It's there. You don't have to worry about losing it in the 3 weeks. You just played 16 weeks of football before that, 15 weeks including the bye. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. These guys are rolling. They're professionals. They're the best in the league. I think if anything, it's going to help with the bumps and bruises, nursing injuries. I think they're going to be better than normal.
I think there's certain teams that it doesn't benefit. Right? I think young teams that you kind of want to keep them playing, right? Keep the momentum going. Keep the juices flowing with a younger team. With an older team, a very experienced team like the Chiefs are, I don't think it matters as much. I don't know. That's just kind of my take on it. But again, I do think younger teams, especially young quarterbacks, keep them in a rhythm, keep them in the flow of things.
Yeah.
For example, Houston, the fact they've played a couple times, I think, plays into their favor. With that being said, though, just feels like the Chiefs are going to be able to overwhelm them a little bit. They were able to get to Justin Herbert a little bit. I worry about that with Mahomes, but we saw it with Pittsburgh, who can still rush the passer when they played on Christmas Day. If you're going to play off They're just going to run now routes. They're just going to run Kelsey, go up 2 yards and turn around.
Yep.
Rasheed Rice, well, I guess not Rasheed Rice. Hollywood Brown, go run 2 yards and turn around. They're going to do that all game against Houston. I like Kansas City to win. I like Kansas City to win pretty handily. Chiefs.
I like Kansas City as well. This is just not a spot where C.J. Stroud goes in and wins yet. Not against an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, well-oiled Kansas City machine. Give me the Chiefs.
All right. The rookie, Jaden Daniels, traveling to Detroit.
Tough spot.
I know he just won a road playoff game. I know.
Tough spot.
And I said it last week. Very tough spot for the rookie. I'm going to reiterate it again, though. The thing about the Detroit game, right? Jaden's been able to win these kind of, I don't want to say low scoring. He's won some shootouts, but he's kind of won some, I can afford to punt. I can afford to turn the ball over. I think there's a very real possibility that whoever punts the ball twice, 2 or 3 times, is going to lose the game because I think the other team is going to score almost every time they have it. I don't think that team's going to be the Lions.
Yeah.
Run the ball control. They're going to keep it away from Jaden Daniels. The best defense to a really, really good quarterback is a good offense to possess the ball a little bit. They get David Montgomery back. To me, that's huge.
Big.
And I think also, I worry a little bit about the secondary, right? Like, the Lions have weapons everywhere, right? They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have Jamison Williams down the field. They have a really, really good tight end. Who do the Commanders really have to cover all those guys, right? Marshawn Lattimore, I don't know. I saw Mike Evans kind of work him. I think the Lions have the advantage. I'll go with Detroit.
Yeah, and you can't disregard the fact that the Lions are it's the most aggressive team in football too. 4th downs, that doesn't mean anything to the Lions. They're still going to go for it. Dan Campbell has these guys playing really well. It's a team that I would not want to see, especially if I had a rookie quarterback. I'm going to go Lions big here.
Well, so now, I agree big, but I think late you're going to see a cover. I think you're going to see, well, we'll talk about that in Bets on a Budget. I think it's going to be because Jaden Daniels, we've seen him be really, really good in the fourth quarter. And what's the weakness of Detroit? Their secondary. So I can see Detroit getting up by 1, 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns.
And then
then kind of backing off a little bit, playing prevent defense, putting their corners on one-on-ones, dropping into a zone, and we know that they don't have the guys on the back end to do that. So I think the Lions kind of control it, but you see a late cover. Jaden Daniels and them are very good in the fourth quarter. Feels very like 31-23 type of game. I'll go Detroit.
I love it. I'll take the Lions.
All right, Eagles playing whoever wins. In full disclosure, the game's still going on. We record this on Monday. We're literally watching the game right now.
It's 10-3.
Sam Darnold just threw a pick. Whoever wins this game, I don't think it particularly matters. I think the Eagles have a better roster. They're going to be at home, so you're getting 2 dome teams that are going to go on the road in January to Philadelphia. Philly's a very physical team. I think, now granted, I don't think Jalen's a very good passer. I don't think he's a pure pocket passer. We saw that this past weekend. He didn't look very good. But he also missed the previous, 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
3.
Yeah, 3 weeks. So there's reason to believe he's going to get better. He's going to get better, right? A little bit of time, going to get a full week of practice. He only got cleared on Thursday, the week before the Sunday game. So you would think that they're going to get better over time with the passing game. I like the Eagles to win. A little bit of a slugfest. I think they win, though. I don't know who they're going to play at, but I just think regardless, because Minnesota and LA kind of play similar styles.
Yeah.
They kind of play the same. Decent defense, get a little bit of a pass rush, not great. Can run the ball a little bit, but again, not a massive weapon. 2 quarterbacks that can kind of make plays, sling it all over the field, and good weapons on the outside.
And the thing is, too, the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. I mean, if you have a running back like that, you already have such an advantage. And we've seen what the running backs have been able to do in the playoffs. You look at your Derrick Henrys, you look at your Saquon Barkleys, right? These are elite guys that are going to be able to carry you.
Even look at Washington. They were able to run the football down the stretch.
With Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. It's something where I think Saquon's going to kind of take control of the game, kind of ball control themselves to victory.
Yeah. And finally, Buffalo versus Baltimore.
This is the game of the week. This is the game of the year so far. I'm
going to pick the Bills. Let me outline why that worries me a little bit, though, and then we'll talk about the positives of Buffalo. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the run. I think if they're going to win, they're going to have to win 42-38. I think it's going to be a shootout. I don't know who's going to come up and consistently tackle Derrick Henry. Who is going to take Lamar on a read option? I don't have the answers to those questions. What I do know is that despite the secondary and the defense as a whole in Baltimore being better down the stretch in the second half of the year, I still have faith that Josh Allen is a better player than the personnel on that defense can stop.
Right. And you have to look at it too. Like Lamar still, yeah, he beat the Steelers pretty handily and he looked good, but it's still Lamar in the playoffs. Like it's the divisional round now, right? You get the Bills, you get the better teams. You're not playing the pretenders anymore.
On the road.
On the road. To Orchard Park. Hello.
Yeah. I think we get a bit of a Lamar classic Lamar playoff collapse.
Just kind of like play down a little bit, and
it's such a weird thing because now, granted, let's take the Steelers, Chiefs, and playoffs aside. It's so weird. Whenever Baltimore loses, the argument's always we should have handed the ball off to Derrick Henry more. Yet we're talking about him in the MVP. It's like, how many other MVPs do we want to take the ball out of their hand to have a better game for the team?
Not really any.
Right. It's such a weird dynamic because clearly he's really good. Clearly he's a dynamic playmaker. Obviously he's one of the most valuable and one of the best players in football. But it's such a weird back and forth, paradox with Lamar. He's the only really, really, truly great player where you're like, is he throwing it too much? Like, does he have the ball too much? Should we hand it off more? Should it be more balanced? So I think we're going to get one of those where the media, the Monday after, is going to say, did Lamar carry the ball too much? And I'm going to be right back in this where it's like, well, then is he the MVP if that's the question?
Yeah, if you have to limit your MVP touching the ball, is he the MVP?
Correct. But anyway, that's a discussion for next week. But I like the Bills narrowly. Feels like very, again, 38-35 type of game.
I love it. Bills, all day.
All right, let's go through bets on a budget. We have 3. There's 4 games. Obviously, we don't know who's playing the Eagles yet, so we're just going to scrap that one. And I actually like the other 3 lines a lot. We'll start in the order that we did the predictions in. We'll start with Kansas City -8 versus Houston. Again, I like the rest versus rust type thing. I like rest a little bit for a veteran team like that. They're getting healthy at the right time. Hollywood Brown's back. He'll be rested and fully integrated. He's had a ton of weeks to practice. Isaiah Pacheco is finally back and healthy. Their defense is getting healthy at the right time. And conversely, does it feel like Houston may run out of a little bit of steam? May run out of steam a little bit towards the end here. I like Kansas City. I think it's going to be really close for about 3 quarters. Kansas City gets a late cover. Again, feels like it's going to be 24-23 down the stretch. Kansas City scores midway through the fourth quarter to make it 31-23, and Houston just never responds. I guess that would be a push, but 31-20 type of game where it's close. It's like a one-score game. Kansas City pushes it out of reach at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of a spot where, and I like C.J. Stroud and I like the Texans, but it feels like they were the biggest pretenders at this spot, and I'm just kind of waiting for it to fall. I'm waiting for it to collapse. I'm waiting for them to come back down to the mean because they are kind of playing above what they normally should be at right now. And against the Chiefs in the playoffs in this spot, Mahomes has been here a bunch. Mahomes knows how to win these games. He knows what it takes to win these to go far in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying C.J. Stroud doesn't know or doesn't have any idea, but he's never been there. We don't have the proof to look at on tape and say, here's where he can be great in this spot. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs big.
My only major concern, Kansas City is a very similar style team to the Chargers. Both have a dynamic quarterback that has to go above and beyond because the weapons aren't great. Offensive line's good, not great. Running game's good, not great. Defense is very, very much above average. Great coach. Like they're stylistically very similar. Now Kansas City's better, but they're stylistically very similar. That worries me a little bit because Houston just saw that type of team.
Yeah.
So that worries me a little bit, but I'm still going to go Kansas City.
Yep.
All right, Washington +9 at Detroit. Look, we bet against Jaden Daniels last week. Not going to do that again. Granted, I like Detroit to win. I said this one feels very, shootout type, 35, 27, 30, somewhere in that range.
The defense can get got a little bit in Detroit.
I think it's going to be whoever has a turnover. Who can steal a possession? And we think Detroit's going to be able to steal a possession. That's why we like them to win. But Jaden Daniels in the fourth quarter has been the best, not one of the best, the best fourth quarter quarterback in the league. Is Detroit going to be up by 2 touchdowns? They kind of lay off a little bit. Can Jaden Daniels get some late cover ability there with Washington. I like Detroit to win, Washington to cover.
Yeah, I like that one too. This one just feels, obviously, it feels like a spot where the Lions are going to win. That's not what I'm doubting. It's just by how much. Now, the defense in Detroit does worry me a little bit. Obviously, you have the game against the Vikings where they just blew them out and it didn't seem to matter. But it points throughout the season. You look back, you can see where these good teams and these good quarterbacks and these solid offenses with these weapons have kind of had their way with Detroit. I think it could happen. The Lions are going to win, but it's going to be a 3 to 4 point ball game.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that whatsoever. All right, Buffalo plus 1.5 versus Baltimore. I mean, we like them to win outright, so why would we not take them getting a 1.5?
The fact that they're dogs is kind of crazy to me.
At home.
Kind of crazy
off
to
a
me.
24-point win.
Is this just like super inflated based off the Pittsburgh game? Like, congratulations, you beat a pretending team that we've been calling a pretending team for the last how many weeks now? Like, is that where they get all of this?
I'm very, very surprised.
Oh, God.
I'm very, very surprised.
I don't even know.
To be at home, one of the absolute best home field advantages in all of sports, in all of the NFL, and to be a 1.5 point dog doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Buffalo is the clear side. I think they went outright, but that is the clear side.
Hammer that. We're looking for a rebound here.
Anyway, okay, surprise one. Just doesn't even, none of this really counts anyway. Our season's over for bets, but just kind of just a toss in. Ohio State's favored by 8.5. I'm taking Ohio State minus 8.5.
There you go.
I'm going to go 35-20 Ohio State.
35-20?
35-20.
I don't like that.
You like Notre Dame, so.
Obviously, but I could see it happening, but I don't like that I could see that happening. I just don't like Ohio State.
Fair enough.
Really run back through.
All right, Kansas City minus 8 versus Houston, Washington plus 9 traveling to Detroit off their bye, and Buffalo plus 1.5 at home versus Baltimore. Don't understand that line. Maybe Vegas knows something we don't, but we will see.
There we go. Guys, those are the divisional round bets, so go check them out. We are bouncing back from our horrific wild card performance, but we are above the sharp line on the year in the regular season, so if you're going to take anything, take that away and go hammer some bets. Guys, that's all we have for you here today in episode 259. It has been a pleasure. We will see you next week. We will be going over the divisional round, predicting the conference championships, and taking a look at what that Super Bowl matchup could be. We will see you back here. It'll be next Thursday, and that was The Issue.